Before we get started, you should probably know that the following podcast contains strong language and conversations of an adult nature. Also, it will almost certainly contain spoilers.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Strong Language and Violent Scenes, the podcast giving a second chance to films that might not deserve it. I know what you're all thinking. That's not Mitch's voice. No, it's not. It's me. It's your old pal Andy, the disgusting filmmaker for Round Your Way. Just thought we'd flip it up a wee bit here.
Yeah, and coming in second for once, I'm Mitch Vane. I'm a horror writer and an occasional dude of musical things.
Yay!
That's weird. We should do this more.
Yeah.
I like it. And joining us tonight, you know him best as one half of Dark Rift Films. He's also the director of The Creature Below and the director of the Frightfest 2018 selection, Book of Monsters. Joining us tonight, Mr. Stewart Sparke. Stuart, hello.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. This is awesome.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah,
thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
And while everyone's thanking everyone, thanks for bringing such an interesting pick to the table as well.
I'm glad, man. Like, honestly, this is a film that I talk to so many people about, like at work and work and other places, and it's like, honestly, no one's fucking heard of this movie, and it's really annoying because I'm like, the guy who did The Mummy, he made this film about like squid monsters on a ship, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? So, like, I'm glad that you guys can share in my appreciation of what is potentially one of my favourite of the 90s Monster Mash films.
Yeah, this is what we're here to do, speak up for the underseen and the underrated and things like that. So, glad to give you a chance to do it. So, let's get into it then with just a little bit. Why did you choose this? What's your background with Deep Rising?
Yeah, I must have seen it like on Channel 5 in the UK at some point late night, and it was one of those films that I didn't see for years after, but I always remembered it, and the only scene I could remember was the scene where the lady runs into the toilet and she gets sucked down the toilet by one of the tentacle monsters.
Amazing.
Yeah, yep.
And I used to describe that scene to people and they had no idea what I was talking about, and then I later tracked it down on DVD, which I still have here. It's like the first release of it. And yeah, I have watched it and tried to force people to watch it ever since.
I think it's currently out of print, actually.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to find it on Blu-ray, and I was like, there's no copy of it. Although I think Scream Factory or someone's announced one recently, but it's a US only one. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and import that because it's really hard to find.
Scream Factory are picking up some good stuff.
Yep, they're doing some really good stuff actually right now.
Yeah, giving a platform to some things that are...
And some utter shite. I saw that they're putting out Munchie, which I don't know if you've ever seen Munchie.
I have not, no.
It's
Stuart, you know this one?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's the kind of Gremlins-y Critters type little monster movie.
Okay.
Where you chop the monster up and the little bits turn into other monsters. It's a pile of shit. Absolute pile of shit. But hey...
that was a pretty good potted synopsis of it, though.
Yeah.
And on the subject of potted synopses, Stuart, we make everyone do this at the start of the show. We kind of glossed over it on the way in, but you've chosen Deep Rising from 1998 tonight. 1998? That's right?
Yeah, 98. Yeah, absolutely.
So
98.
So for the benefit of anyone who hasn't seen this and is listening to this episode, I'm not sure why they would do that, but some people do.
Yep.
So Stuart, we're going to give you 30 seconds on the count of 3 to catch people up as much as possible on the plot of Deep Rising. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do this.
Right.
Let's do it.
1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah, so Treat Williams is like a captain of this cool black speedboat, and he's been hired to transport a group of mercenaries into the middle of the ocean to rob the most expensive cruise ship in the world. But they get there, the passengers and the crew are missing, and while the mercenaries are like trying to rob the place, they find Famke Janssen, I can never say her name right, so that's probably wrong, who was on board to rob the ship as well. And then they discover that there's loads of tentacle monsters eating everyone on the ship, and Treat Williams has to team up with the mercenaries to fight the monsters. So just
That was
Nearly got to the
That was
end.
pretty good. That was pretty damn close.
That was pretty good, and I think that you covered a lot of the important stuff because speaking of somebody who knew very little about this going in, the first like half hour or so of this is extremely disorientating. We can get to that in more detail shortly.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, but I mean, like so many different factions are introduced with so little explanation that
And it's constantly intercutting between each little group, and they have their own little intro theme music that kicks in really hard, and you're like, okay, we're back with these guys. Yeah,
it's like wildly hopping around. But yeah,
There's no clear-cut good guys or bad guys in the film.
No, not at all. It's like even the main. You're introduced to Finnegan, and he's on the ship, and he's doing MacReady playing with the computer.
That's right.
Chatting shit to his colleagues, and he's a bit of an arsehole, really, to be honest.
he's an arsehole like right out of the gate. Like your first meeting, he's such a prick.
Like he's very much like a Nathan Fillion in Firefly type of character, in that he's very weathered and he's seen a lot of shit and he's got this really hard edge, but he treats like he's got Joey, he's his kind of like first mate, and he just treats him like absolute dog shit for like most of the film. With little disregard. Even like later on, he's getting beaten the shit out of by the mercenary guys, and he's like, "I'm not going in there. I don't want to get hurt." And it's like, dude, you're like the main guy, aren't you? But eventually, he does become that. He shows his true colours. But yeah, it's an interesting little crew that he's got.
Yeah. So Treat Williams, I think he's probably the least kind of sexually appealing hero I've ever seen in a film. Like, just he is completely devoid of any kind of. So originally they wanted Harrison Ford to play that role, right? Which you can understand. You're like, that would be fucking cool. It would increase the budget by about $50 million or something. But yeah, that's fine. Ultimately, Harrison Ford didn't do it. Treat Williams does it. He does a fine job, but I kind of wish it was Bill Pullman.
Oh, that would have been awesome, man. Yeah, Bill Pullman. That would have been sick. Like, yeah, he would have done an amazing job of the role. And the thing about Treat Williams is, I honestly couldn't name another film he's in.
I can. He's the bad guy in The Phantom with Billy Zane.
Holy shit. What a film.
For my sins, I have seen The Phantom. I think it might just be me,
awesome.
actually. I think I might be the only person who's seen The Phantom.
See, I'm sure I've seen that. It's that... Yeah, Billy Zane, has he got like a purple costume?
Oh, he looks. That's how he lives in the jungle and wears that costume and thinks that that's a keen disguise for the jungle.
But so we meet Finnegan, and it's explained in the kind of opening blurb, the opening crawl, that we are in the kind of South China Sea.
We are, we're in the South China Sea, which contains canyons deep enough to hide the Himalayas.
Yeah, underwater mountain range. Pretty interesting. And yeah, like vessels keep disappearing without explanation here. It's like a bit of a Bermuda Triangle thing going on.
Okay, that's right, yeah.
So we get Finnegan, and he's kind of chatting shit to Joey, Tooch, and also like kind of sassing Layla as well, another one of the crew members who's doing some sort of hard labor on the deck of the ship. Yeah, she in sort of storm conditions, and he's kind of making fun of the fact that he doesn't have to do it.
This boat is a super high tech boat. It's kind of like Hulk Hogan's in Thunder in Paradise.
I can't believe you've seen that. That was brilliant.
But it's obviously a set. It's controlled like the boat is controlled by a joystick rather than your standard ship's wheel. I don't know if we ever find out the name of his boat, do we?
Not that
I can't call it at all.
I bet it's cool. I bet it's got
a super sexy boat.
Yeah.
I love that boat. It just looks awesome. And going back to what you're saying about the intro, that is one of the things I love about the film, that it's got a proper text intro that sets up that ships go missing all the time, and then it fucking kicks in with that amazing Toho like Godzilla music, and you're like, yes, I'm in for this film now. This is awesome. And you got the monster POV going under the water, and you see like a ship from pretty much every time period in the same place because it's been eating all the ships. And it's just, I'm in this. This is already giving me, good feelings for the rest of this film.
What I like about the kind of intro that we get to Finnegan is that, like I say, we get the impression that he might be a little bit difficult to work with, but
oh really?
But someone has this. But there's this conversation. I can't remember for the life of me who it is that has it with him. But there's this allusion to like kind of damn it, he gets results kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's the kind of thing like, oh, I thought you'd be older. Oh, you're Finnegan. I've heard loads about you. As if it's building up this big backstory about him that he's seen things and he's done these amazing things. It's like Snake Plissken in Escape from New York, where you hear that he's done all this stuff, but you never see it. And you're like, that's good enough for me. That works.
Yeah. That's literally never explored any further than that. He's
this kind of soldier of fortune type character. Who has obviously been round the block a while. He doesn't particularly want to be working with this let me just point out, quite a cosmopolitan transcontinental group of pirates here.
I thought, ethnic diversity wise, ahead of the curve, definitely.
Yeah, you've got it's a real melting pot.
But Finnegan's also got a business head on his shoulders, because right at the start, it's Hanover says he's obviously a little bit spooked by this whole, like, if the money's there, we don't care.
Oh yeah, I like that's his mantra.
Yeah, it's like it sounds like he's like the way he does business is very bloodless, which I like. Bloodless pursuit of money. But like, yeah, we kind of pivot out of that almost immediately. Like you say, the first of what is many a super abrupt cuts to something else that isn't immediately explained. And it's like, oh yeah.
Just point out quickly that the boat even has its own theme tune.
That's true.
Has a bombastic theme tune.
It's great, and every time it like I was looking at it, and it was like the first 30 minutes. Every time it cuts back to that boat, it's like bow bow bip 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 bip, really upbeat, kind of like almost like a LucasArts 90s adventure game. Music kicks in, and then you cut back to the cruise ship, and it's like start of Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. There's the people in the Asian-inspired outfits dancing around, and then it cuts back to the boat, and it's straight back with that music, and it is so fucking jarring, but I love it because it's pure cheese.
There are a lot of different ethnic groups represented on board the Argonautica as well, certainly in terms of their entertainment.
Although I did say that when you see the party, it's got all the hallmarks of a lavish 90s party, which is big band crooner music, roulette tables, and cultural appropriation.
Yep.
And no regard for health and safety with the massive Catherine wheel spinning in the background. Set everything on fire. That was warning signs for me immediately.
And
it's true,
sexy female bar staff that kiss each other.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. Then Canton. That's the character's name, isn't it?
Anthony Heald.
Yes.
He's great.
Yeah, who is
Chilton.
Dr. Chilton in the Hannibal movies.
Yeah, he appears and kind of addresses, and this is where you get the background of the bafflingly entitled Argonautica.
Yes.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant speech that he gives about, like, my dream since being a young boy was to build the most expensive ship in the entire world, and look at all you rich people here. Money! It's brilliant. He's just such a dick.
I love gold!
I love gold so much. It's beautiful.
You were a weird fucking kid. This was your dream, to own a giant casino boat.
Especially...
Yeah.
I have to point out the fact that he uses the when he's talking about his aspiration, he describes it as a pleasure ship.
Yeah.
Which I think, which coming out of a 7-year-old's mouth would be really fucking strange. But like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to build the world's largest and most lavish pleasure ship. Like, fucking hell, man. Okay.
When I was a little kid, I just wanted a bogey collector. Like. I don't know. That was as far as my aspirations went. Maybe to own Castle Grayskull.
You just keep reaching for that rainbow, man. You can make it happen. What
else is it all for?
We immediately double back again. We see enough of that to just get the backstory of the Argonautica. And then we're back on the first ship, and I think that it is at this point that we get our first proper look at the ethnically diverse squad of mercenaries that are on the ship.
Yeah. What a bunch of fucking assholes.
There's a lot
honestly, it's like they watched Aliens and they went, we want that. We want the the camaraderie, and we want to, these guys have been on missions together. But like in Aliens, let's have that, but they're all massive dicks who are unlikable people who you want to die from the off. That's basically what they wrote in there.
Totally. I feel like all of their dialogues written by someone who has had the notion of like masculine macho banter explained to them, but they've actually never heard it. They're just like, oh, it's like there's a bit of camaraderie, but they mostly just kind of give each other shit because everything is unbelievably mean-spirited, and within like 30 seconds they pull guns and knives on each other and stuff. And it's like, this is not the kind of like lad chat I was expecting.
They torture one of their own till the point where he vomits.
Yeah, yeah, and he's blowing the smoke in his face. It's like it feels like a 10-year-old wrote that scene, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go sleep with a woman from every country in the world. Yeah, well, if you came to my country, I'll eat you." It's like, oh my god, you guys are supposed to be trained killers. You're like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is what they do all day. God.
And yeah, like some extremely harsh treatment for old Joey Teach here, who's having to be rummage around. So he on the ship and stumbles across the torpedoes, and then so they kind of like make out like they're going to interrogate him about it, and then but very quickly just start kicking 7 bells of shit out of him.
To the point where he really should have serious internal bleeding, but then the next scene they're just stitching up a little scratch on his forehead.
Yeah,
and they're like, you could have got hurt there, man. He's like, he was kicking the shit out of him, and then Treat Williams is just like, I'm not going in there. I don't want to get hurt. He doesn't even care. It's just, they're such a lovely crew. They all take care of each other.
I actually hadn't clocked that at all until you mentioned it, but like, yeah, they're battering him for a really long time, and I was kind of, and I did kind of think, I was like, is this boy just gonna die? And then like literally in the next scene, he's just like, oh, that was pretty sore.
He actually gets the shit kicked out of him for the whole film.
Yeah, it's kind of a recurring thing.
He's just constantly getting slapped and tripped up, and they just treat him like absolute garbage. Which while comes across as quite cruel, at the same time, he's a bit of a pain in the fucking ass.
Oh yeah, the character is just supremely annoying to everyone else, but the audience, he's like the main source of joy for the audience, because he has so many great little scenes like later on when he's just crouching over something. He's like, "What you got there?" He's like, "A peanut. It's just a peanut," and he kind of plops it in the water, and there's a little bloop sound. And then later on, he's humming the elevator music, and he's that guy you do not want in the horror film around you. But and constantly getting bitch slapped and stuff. But is it Kevin O'Connor?
Kevin J. O'Connor. Yeah. He's
and he's in The Mummy. He's like the same character, but they made him on the villain side completely.
Yeah, he's Benny,
but he's still Benny, the bumbling kind of guy. And I mean, Treat Williams' character as well is almost like a bit of a template for Rick O'Connell in The Mummy as well. It's like they went, well, that worked. These two characters work. We'll just move those over there, but make them slightly more heroic. You can see Stephen Sommers kind of finding his feet in this one in terms of the action horror template he wanted to move over with. And Mummy's another film I absolutely love as well.
Yeah, I like The Mummy.
The film takes this long to make it clear what the arrangement is between Finnegan's crew and the mercenaries. Because it's only at this point when they when they start talking about once they've kind of intervened and stopped Joey getting battered. Mm-hmm. But they talk about the kind of the terms of the agreement, and you kind of maybe it's just me being slow, but that's when I kind of got a grasp of what the arrangement was between them.
Yeah, it's a transport mission.
Yeah, and it's Finnegan's crew driving the mercenaries' ship, right? Is that correct?
Well, no, it's Finnegan's ship.
Finnegan's ship. And they're transporting the mercenaries.
They're transporting the mercenaries to the Argonautica.
Yes.
For reasons that will become clear as we progress through this, but certainly his sole job, his reason for being, his raison d'etre, is to get this squad of assholes to the Argonautica, while trying to avoid a massive dick swinging contest between the lot of them and blatant and overt threats against his life and the lives of his crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much constantly through the whole film he's threatened with death, and he's always comes back at him with a little one-liner. That's the way he is.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he keeps a pretty level head in the face of the kind of constant threats and abuse that he gets, I must say. But again, we jump back to the Argonautica at this point, and this is our first real exposure to Famke Janssen's character, Chilean.
Yep, and apologies in advance if Famke Xenia Onatop happens to be listening to this, because we don't know how to pronounce your name, so we are just going to stumble our way through this in the hope that somehow we hit right on it.
Yeah. It's like if we try enough variations, we're going to get it right. But yeah, she's kind of skulking around on the ship, and she gets apprehended.
Yeah, the frankly ludicrously named Trillian St. James, by the way.
Oh, it's pretty. She could be a Bond girl in this as well. Like, the name's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep, man. She's got that sneaky Catwoman sex appeal thing going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's blowing the bubble gum when you see her there. She's standing out, and you're like, oh, something's gone on with her. And it's a really good intro to the character. Like, I think you got the big casino thing, and she's there popping the bubble gum, stealing key cards, and then you get that kind of first ominous monster roar from the ocean when she's kind of like looking over the balcony, and that's what gets me going every time. Then monster roars. It's good sound design. It's very good in this film.
So like she gets hauled up, like you said, for the stealing and stuff. She gets kind of put away in a kind of holding pen for basically.
Yeah, she gets caught trying to access a vault.
Yes, that's right. At this point, I'm kind of thinking that like I'd momentarily forgotten that I was watching a monster movie because it's introduced like a lot of kind of fairly intriguing strands. Mm-hmm. And it's straight after this that a saboteur on the ship disables all the navigation, and you don't know. Well, obviously, you kind of assume that he's one of the mercenaries, but at the same time, I was more thinking where that plot was going without even necessarily stopping to think that there was going to be like a tentacle beast about to appear.
You thought you were going down a kind of Under Siege versus a kind of Speed 2 kind of thing, didn't you?
I mean, like, yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, obviously, I didn't. I vaguely knew what this was about, but at the same time, I'd kind of let myself get hooked into the idea that was where it was going.
Yeah, I mean, aside from a few kind of sound effects of monsters, it is like a heist film meets, Under Siege, pretty much. For quite a while, actually. It never kind of gives you any clue that there's anything else going on other than, like, roars in the distance. And I think that's kind of good, because it's the whole kind of From Dusk Till Dawn type of thing, where it's a great film to begin with, and then suddenly becomes vampires in a strip club.
And I've said before on the show that a lot of horror stuff that appeals to me the most is things that feel like they set out to be doing something different and then kind of casually introduce a horror element later, which I think is what this does.
Yeah, it does it really well, and even like once we get further into it, like the way they reveal the monsters is very slow and drawn out. You really don't see one physically on screen. You only kind of feel the effects of it. And if you went into this film not having seen the trailer and not knowing there was monsters in, and you kind of just put this on the TV, you'd be pleasantly surprised, I think, as it kind of evolved.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's like I say, it's difficult to say for sure going in when you know what it's about. But I think that I kind of wish I'd gone in blind to this in a way, just so I could have kind of been surprised by that. But something does collide with the Argonautica at this point, a non-specific something, and I think the chaos that ensues after the boats hit is really well done.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's awesome, isn't it? It's like a proper disaster movie. People flying off balconies, smashing through glass. There's like a scene where people are running down the corridor, getting brutally trampled with some really bone-crunching sound effects, and you're really like, holy shit! Like this is getting a bit intense. And yeah, it all leads up to that amazing woman being sucked down the toilet scene, which is, it's amazing. Of all the kind of great deaths in horror movie history, it's up there.
She chooses to kind of, I guess, seek refuge in the toilet in the midst of the chaos. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, I get the feeling that she's kind of hiding in there.
And she kind of stumbles backwards onto the pan, and it's at that point that she's grabbed, and the big kind of geyser of blood sprays over the mirror. Super
it's just beautiful.
Cool.
I mean,
super cool.
Whoever pitched that, whoever came up with that specific idea, is a fucking genius.
And now I had to rewind and rewatch what happens next, which is when Finnegan's ship is hit by the speedboat that's cast loose from the wreckage.
Yeah, because they do set that up in like a shot, and initially, because it's like a Chekhov's gun type of shot, you're like, oh, that's going to be the boat they escape on later on, or something like that. But it's like, he plows into it. Ship gets damaged, and it's your classic Millennium Falcon malfunction. There's flames everywhere. The hyperdrive's gone down, and you got Joey trying to fix it. And the mercenaries. This is the beginning of the mercenaries blaming Finnegan for every single fucking thing that happens until they physically see him. Also, like people getting eaten and killed, and they're like, "What have you done, Finnegan?" Pointing guns in his face. It's like, come on, dude! Like, there's a fucking half a guy over there. It gets really ridiculous, and it's like the running joke.
That's such a good shout. It's like, what are you up to now?
Do you know?
Every time.
Do you know what I love? That rather than be constantly fucking about with changing cartridges and magazines on their machine guns, relatively small machine guns, they're just like, they've got 1,000 round capacity. And then we're just like, so that means we never once need to bother about reloading, and no one can give us any trouble for it.
That is genius fucking writing right there. Like, 1,000 rounds a clip, like rotating Gatling gun type machine guns, and they just, again, they clearly went, in Aliens. They've got that cool gun. Can we have that? And he's like, it's auto cooling, watertight. And it's the same as the dropship scene when he's kind of listing off all the cool guns they've got. They've got that in there, describing the cool weapons. And that gun, like those guns, play quite a big part in the film. And there's another one of the great running jokes in it is that Finnegan's always getting his hands on a gun, and they're like, nope. Give it to me, and eventually he finally gets one, and it's kind of his bit of a hero moment in the corridor later on. But those guns are sick.
See when the mercenaries, like, obviously once it's around this time we find out that their plan the entire time has been to rob the Argonautica, and they go on to do it, and obviously when they get there everything's destroyed. See, considering how much they were absolutely savaging each other over nothing when we saw them initially, I think it's really interesting that nobody made fun of the mercenary that described the boat as Spooky Town.
There's a lot of stinker lines from the mercenaries in the film, though, as they're kind of exploring the ship. When they're kind of walking around and spooky shit's happening, they seem like the dumbest group of idiots to ever have existed, especially considering their job is to go around and shoot people in this situation. There's some beautiful lines in there. I wish I'd written some of them down. Unfortunately, I can't even bloody recall one right now.
Quite often I'm like, hurry up and die because I can't listen to you anymore. The Australian guy in particular I find quite jarring.
Oh yeah, he was the first to go though, wasn't he, in the end? T-Bone, T-Ray, that was it.
Yeah, he goes pretty quickly, but I've got to be honest, I'm pretty glad about that.
Speaking of people that go early, we lose Layla and the mercenary that were both left behind on Finnegan's ship. Shortly after this, they're both killed by the same monster at the same time. I thought the way that character was introduced, I thought that she was going to be in it for the long haul.
Oh yeah, no, that's silly to think that.
Have I just not seen enough stuff?
Yeah.
No, I kind of thought she was going to be. I thought she was going to be a mainstay. Wrong again.
There's only room for one kind of female lead in these '90s movies, man. They've got the femme fatale, and unfortunately, she had to go.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. Yeah.
that's as simple as that.
So what happens is they have to board the Argonautica to scavenge materials to fix Finnegan's ship so they can get back on the road and get out of here once they've completed their objective, correct?
Yeah,
and then it really, really doesn't go to plan.
Yeah, it feels like the film, that kind of whole, we've got to get the parts to fix the ship, although it was like their secondary objective, they keep having to do that, and that whole kind of subplot of we need these parts lasts for about a good hour. Mm-hmm. And I when I was watching it the other night, I kind of looked at where we are in the film, and there's like the last half an hour revolves around, oh crap, I dropped them half an hour ago. We've got to go back now to get them again. Because they realised they can only run around this ship so much, so he had to drop the parts for him to go and get it again.
That's so funny. That didn't even occur to me.
That's the whole plot of the film. We got to find the parts to fix the ship. Surely there was other lifeboats on that ship.
Yeah, like ones that would have survived the hit.
I seem to recall a moment where Famke Janssen, I'm going to just call her Trillian, as she's trying to break into like a glass cabinet to get some keys, which I were assuming were perhaps for an escape vehicle. I guess it could have been the jet ski.
Oh, well, that was for the jet ski later on, wasn't it? When she has to get that.
Could have been, yeah.
And so we've got it's Canton accidentally kills a mercenary at this point.
Oh, that's fucking amazing.
It is
that's
class.
Brilliant point
so
of film.
Good.
Money. And then it's a great effect. Axe straight to the fucking head, and he's down. And then it's just beautiful.
It's a super effective scene because you don't expect it for a minute. I think by this point you've seen quite a lot of the mercenaries get dragged off down corridors. I think you see the one guy who kind of gets bashed from pillar to post in the water.
That's right before.
Which is really cool. And I think certainly when you watch it for the first time, you immediately expect it to be, or I always did expect it to be a big reveal of the monster.
Yeah, they keep you going for that for quite a while. They don't let you see it for ages. Like the guys get dragged. The two mercenaries when they're like trying to find the parts to fix the ship are just kind of getting picked off. And the first death has always bothered me because he's kind of looking around for ages, and then some cables come down, fake jump scare, and then he kind of walks off, gets pulled out, and then there's like 3 separate shots where he gets whipped under the water. There's a shot of him flying through the water, and then just like a shot of a wall, and some blood just goes. It's like the cheapest way where they went, we really don't have any money for this guy, so let's just do that. The second guy gets like bashed to fuck around loads of pipes, and then they make you wait. But I think the first reveal of the monster like is really well done, and it's clearly where they spent all the CGI budget, because after that it goes pretty downhill.
Yeah. I mean, like, you've got some pretty rapid fire sequences of monster attacks at this point. And I think that, like, what you're saying about kind of delaying the reveal, it works really well because, and I think the reason that it works really well is because every time the monster attacks, you don't see it, but it's absolute chaos every time it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a massive event every time it happens. It's like, I've got it written down that this might be the film with the most prolonged periods of gunfire that I've ever seen.
Well, it's when they first go on the ship and they get startled by something and they all start firing Predator style into the jungle type of thing, and then they're all laughing at how much fun it is, and then they just keep doing it for ages. And Finnegan just goes, shh. It's great.
Gotta get your money's worth out of these expensive guns. What's the point in having 1,000 rounds in one gun if you're not going to fire off a couple of them? Like,
exactly,
you can spare them. You can spare those rounds.
Absolutely. You're right though. Yeah, there's no sense of being conservative with ammo if you've once shelled out for the 1,000 rounders.
There's a bit where they all go into the elevator.
Oh, this is good.
When Joey's singing along to Girl from Ipanema in the elevator, and the elevator then is separated and crashes down. Crashes down like 40 stories.
Yeah.
That would kill all of them, surely. Surely that.
I always thought that. Like, but they all perfectly fine. They get up.
No one dies.
It always confused me because they kind of wake up at the bottom of it, and there's all this blood, and I was like, oh my god, are they not dead? But then you get that awesome reveal of the digested remains in the corridor of all the people who are kind of like the flesh has been eaten away, and that is just brilliant point in the film where they kind of realize that the shit is about to go down.
I love all the corpses in this. They're really, really well made. Like,
they're really juicy.
Yeah, they're really juicy. Slimy.
Something I look for in my corpses.
I like. Yeah. They've got kind of personality still to their faces. Like, you can tell that they're kind of contorted in pain. Like, they've got mouths open and like big white eyeballs.
And then they do a really good job with the sound design. Like, you can hear the screams echoing of all the people, and there's like women, men, and children kind of like mixed in there, and it's really fucking creepy as well.
Round about this point, they managed to get the information out of Canton.
This is a good twist as well, I think.
Yeah. The whole thing, this whole plan, ultimately, has been kind of choreographed by Canton, bringing the mercenaries on board as a $487.6 million insurance scam.
It's a good twist.
Yeah. He spent all this money building the ship, then realised the ship wasn't likely to make any money.
I see, like, I remember thinking, like, when he kind of confessed this, for a lifelong aspiration, it's like, this is extremely poorly planned because this is obviously like wildly unprofitable. And like,
but then Joey says something to him, like, he says something to Canton, like, "You mean we're in this shit because you fucked up the math or something like that?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I simply misjudged the market." It's like, by a pretty fucking large margin, pal.
But Joey does address it with him, like the fact that this was a pretty big fucking boo-boo on your part.
Yeah, misfire.
The ship seemed pretty busy though earlier on. Like, it wasn't like there wasn't like one or two people bobbing around. It was all the rich people.
Yeah, and casinos are known to be quite profitable.
Like, if
the house always wins.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if the boat is unprofitable, it's not from lack of interest.
That's true.
Because the party was stowed, people everywhere, and like, all rich people. One of my favourite monster moments incoming.
Oh, amazing. My favourite moment in the film.
I would be inclined to agree.
Speaks very closely to my heart and the kind of films that I love, the kind of films that I make. This moment is very, very me. stuff like this moment and the moment in RoboCop with the acid.
Yes, definitely.
They are just those timeless effects where you're just like, that's fucking disgusting. I love it. Give me more.
It's great. It's like, and again, it's like you watch The Mummy and like the effect of the guy kind of half digested and he turns his face and his skull's exposed is what they did with The Mummy eventually, but kind of much better. And yeah, it's fucking horrible. Like when you first see that, and again, that was one of my kind of early memories of the film because I must have watched it when I was quite young. It fucking terrified me, honestly. The guy's like screaming as well, and he's got his looking at his own hand, and that's I think that's our first big reveal of the actual monster itself as well, where it kind of uncoils and it's the tentacle with the kind of exposed maw.
Yeah, it's that real alien moment where the slime starts dripping down onto Joey, and I think
it's great. Yeah,
he kind of looks up and then it's right above him.
And it's kind of, they did it in Anaconda as well, where they kind of cut it open and there was the guy kind of, I think it was John Voight, wasn't he? He was kind of like half melted at the end.
It does like a weird wink.
Yeah. I've got to have those anacondas. He had that really weird accent in that film. That was the scariest thing about that film. John Voight.
But no, when he spits them out, and you like say like when you first get the look of the kind of victim.
Yeah.
And when he looks at the kind of the giant hole in his hand, I was pretty blindsided by that. I didn't expect it to be so gross. I thought it was brilliant.
I think it holds up.
Really does.
Like
it's fantastic.
If you look at this film and then you look at things that came not long after, films like Hollow Man, which might even have been the same year, the effects in this hold up 10 times better than Hollow Man.
It really does hold up, and like, I mean, granted, I'm watching a DVD copy that was probably one of the worst transfers that exists for this film. But yeah, it's the first as well of many good kind of prolonged monster deaths in the film as well. There's some really good ones that come up later on, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, the creature design, it's good. It's really good.
After this, there's just a lot of running around and firing guns for a good 15 to 20 minutes.
And you've got your Tremors. You got your Tremors moment where the ground's popping up. It's fantastic, and the camera's kind of careering down
in the corridor, where again Treat Williams finds himself with a gun, and the door at the end's kind of buckling, and the walls are buckling.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great,
and then it all just fucking goes fucking crazy.
And it has that classic 90s thing of, it's like we realise the monster reacts to sound, and he grabs his gun and very slowly drags it towards him, and it does that kind of like, they've just cut the frame rate in half, but they didn't shoot it in slow motion, so it's just like this really juddery slow motion gunshot, which is your telltale 90s slow motion kind of something, oh, this is important, guys, shot. But it's kind of part of the charm of the film, I think, is that you don't really see that stuff anymore in films. And yeah, the big monster reveal as it's kind of coming towards him, CGI, and that's fantastic. And Trillian kind of comes back at that point, saves him, and this is the kind of point in the film where these guys really do become the heroes, because he has that kind of great moment where she's like, look, if you get me off this ship, Al, and he's like, what, you'll do anything for me? And he's like, will you get me a cold beer? And you're like, he's cool, he's not going to exploit her. And they both go, yeah, right, we're going to team up and escape, and they're away.
Yeah, she's not going to be forced into a life of servitude like Princess Leia.
At this point, I think like it fairly hastily whittles down to like the group of people that are kind of going to mostly see out the end of this thing.
Yeah. So you got the captain guy. The kind of there's a bit earlier when
Hanover.
Yeah, there's a bit earlier where Anthony Heald backhands Famke Janssen.
Yeah.
He just kind of tosses off a kind of what is like a disrespectful backhand, and the captain guy's just like, we'll have no more of that. You're just like, but I really like the captain, and he gets a really gross death as well, where he's kind of
he gets a great kind of alien style pulled through the floor in Alien Resurrection type of death. Oh, he reminded me of he's the kind of the cafe in Tremors where the shop owner kind of gets pulled into the ground and it's coming around him and kind of pulls him in. And you got Canton just fucking not giving him any help at all.
But he's such a slimy, gross bastard. Like,
he's so good in the film that I think his performance, it's kind of after that point, they don't even fucking run off or anything. They have a conversation in that same walkway where the captain's just been eaten, and he's like, do you not know about these eels that live beneath the earth? At 10,000 feet, they're this big. Imagine this. And it's like, why does he fucking know about this? Like, what has he got? But he's so slimy and his glasses are half broken. He's kind of pushing him up his sweaty face. And he's like, fucking
he has
hate
got a sweaty face, yeah. I'm assuming there we were talking about the Archaea Otoya family of subaquatic worms. Yeah, I mean, Canton's not the only person that knows about the Archaea Otoya family of subaquatic worms.
See, but I remember thinking it was just like, because I think a lot of the time with stuff like this, you have to have that moment where someone just kind of drops like a massive Cliff Notes bomb about whatever you're facing up to. I just didn't expect it to be him.
I wouldn't have expected it to be a casino owner.
It's maybe his other childhood dream was to be a marine biologist or something like that.
That's literally exactly what I was about to say.
Captain Hanover, I think, would be the man who might have a bit more savvy about that, or one of the remaining mercenaries, maybe.
Maybe, but like when I was stationed in the South Pacific, there was these things. But no, he knows everything. This guy, and it's the way he describes them. They drink you alive, and you're like, oh, nice.
Did you also know that in Brazil there is a fish that will swim up your cock? Like, you're like, oh.
Why do you know all this?
Why do you know about these horrible worms? Like,
it's just a hobby of mine, I assure you.
I was like, oh, why have you acquired all this weirdly specific, gross biology knowledge?
Now, I don't know if this is canon, right?
Okay.
But I was doing some research.
Good.
And a lot of places refer to the creature itself as Octulus.
I looked that up as well, and I believe wasn't it like one of the original titles or something like that in a country?
Oh, really?
On DVD. But yeah, it's like the classic thing of like, I was like, I'll do a bit of YouTubing, and there's fantastic channels that are like analyzing the monster in this film, and it was like I was watching. It was like the Octulus was approximately 50 feet tall, and I was like, wow, this is fucking sick. It has a name. It's awesome.
Thanks very much, Canton's series of movie monsters.
Yeah. They were all produced by his company after it went bust.
Hey, Argonautica Films.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I called our production company that. Fuck, that's an awesome name.
We lose another missionary around this time in...
Is this Jason Flemyng?
Yeah, Mulligan. One of the scenes I enjoyed the most when he kind of... I think he gives trying to kill the creature a pretty square go. He thinks he's done it, basically. Starts kind of taunting it openly, and then just turns around and just gets immediately wiped out.
One of the more unconvincing deaths, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, but as a piece of comic timing, I thought it was pretty funny. Though.
I mean, it's up there with the kind of Deep Blue Sea Samuel L. Jackson death.
Yeah, I mean, he has the honour, Jason Flemyng. I mean, he's really good performance in that. He's like giving it 100%.
Yeah, I think he's generally quite good.
Yeah, he has the honour of like that classic death of he's ranting and raving, and everyone else in the room sees that there's something behind him. He's like, oh no, it's not behind me, is it? And it's just such a cliche, but brilliantly executed.
But it gives you that kind of double bluff where you think for a minute, how cool was that he's spun round like just as it's about to attack him. You're like, yes, he's fucking what a guy, what a fucking hero, and then it like immediately destroys him.
One kind of there was something here that I thought was kind of cool and kind of creepy. When it kind of dawns on your remaining kind of survivors that as they think it is at the time, monsters are herding them into the bow of the ship and kind of like just like shutting off the routes. which I thought was kind of cool, but not as cool as the actual reveal of the bow of the ship, which was fucking brilliant.
Oh, that is awesome. There's your gooey bodies again, your juicy, tasty corpses in this film are fucking awesome. And yeah, you got the screams there and everything. And that's one of the things I love about monster movies is like the mythology around them, and like the way that it is herding them, as you say, into the ship to basically the feeding ground. Or I guess that is where. Yeah, it's the dump. That's the big toilet, I guess, because surely they've digested them and they're kind of dumping them out at that stage.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just a big shitter.
Well, that's made me view it in a totally different light.
Yeah,
I had it in my head it was some kind of big pantry, but no,
keeping them fresh for later.
Big disgusting, slimy toilet.
Yeah. Wow. See, just like as you were saying that sentence aloud, Stuart, I was like, "That's fucking revolting."
That makes it even better.
Yeah, it does. Totally does. I want to touch on something because we don't have too much story left to mention it. I have a confession to make. I fucking hate Joey.
Right? Okay.
Oh, what?
Yeah, no. Right from the off, a total sad sack. Hated him. By this point, I was profoundly irritated that he wasn't dead.
Oh, what? No. He has the best. I mean, this leads on to the best sequence in the film for me, character-wise, with Joey and Hanover running down the corridor, and it's the kind of classic villain and hero are kind of thrust together. They're both trying to escape, and Hanover's such a fucking dick. He like shoots him in the leg to leave him behind, and he's like stuck there. And Joey managed to escape, but then like when he shows up again, he's been half eaten. Gives him the gun to fucking top himself, and then he tries to shoot him again. And I'm like, this is great. It's so well played out as like a little mini sub story in the film. It's great.
That is a really good sequence.
Joey's like that when he tries to shoot him again. He's like, "Watch my leg!"
Yeah.
That scene where Wes Studi's character's being slowly eaten by the creature.
Yeah,
really good.
Mm-hmm. He's like screaming, and it's slowly pulling him in further in its jaws. Yeah. It's just fucking horrific. And it's brilliant.
He's got this kind of look of quiet fear on his face, but he's not saying anything. There's just this real slurpy kind of in the background.
Fucking hell, you've done that before, haven't you?
Ask around.
See, I feel like now you've said that, I feel kind of bad for having written in my notes, Hanover is killed after trying to be the hero of the piece and kill Joey. Sorry guys.
Joey's great. I think he's annoying as fuck, and everyone in the film comments on that fact. But I think you need him in there. He brightens up every scene he's in, and you have the kind of when at the end, he's like alive again, and you're like, oh yay! I was genuinely happy for him, and I bet you were like, fucking hell, here he comes.
I was like, this fucking guy.
When you saw him just bobbing around in the sea, like at the end, just like, fuck, let him die.
I don't want to jump ahead to the end too quickly. But
no, we're missing a lot.
I know,
of
we'll
stuff.
cycle back, but just while you brought that up, see when obviously Trillian and Finnegan get to the island and they have their kind of like big romantic moment at the end. And then you see Joey swimming through the water and he's like, oh, did I have water in my eyes or did I just see some lip action for you two? It's like, oh, enjoy that fucking third wheel for all eternity.
But that's
And I drowned him there and then.
he just grabs his head and fucking shoves it up.
He washed up like this.
Yeah, exactly.
He washed up beaten to death.
It's a perfect
with
drown.
Coconuts.
But no, obviously, we have got some huge stuff to get through here. Because like you say, I mean, so much of the first two acts is kind of scavenging for parts and that kind of thing,
and machine gun fire.
But then, there's somehow those two things converge into this ending that has so much stuff to wrap up.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like the third act of the film, like from the point when they get on the boat and he's like, right, we're going to go back to get the parts, to get back here, to come and do this, but first they're going to rescue the girl because she's been kidnapped by this guy. You're like, right, there's a clear goal, and it fucking ramps up the action where you've got the confrontation with Dr. Chilton. I can't remember his fucking name. Canton. Yeah, he's there, and he's still fucking around, and he's got his little shotgun, and it's just that whole end sequence with the whole back and forth with getting the keys for the jet ski. It could have been to the point where you were really fucking sick of it, because it goes on for ages. The film's like an hour and 45 minutes long when it really didn't need to be. No. But it keeps escalating the action like all great action films do, and it just really works.
Yeah, I mean, like, considering, like you say, when you kind of realise what the kind of machinations of the plan is, or should I say, to get them to get out. I remember thinking, I was like, looking at the runtime and how much was left, and I was like, fucking hell, that's a lot of steps. But like,
it's very much not the straight line from A to B thing.
It's like
all over the fucking place.
It's like the breakfast making machine from Wallace and Gromit. Like, I was like, this is intricate. But like, but
that's such a weird thing to say.
But for that, I don't think it outstays its welcome.
No.
I think it moves through all that stuff pretty efficiently.
Do you know what I think's fucking super bold? Like when Dr. Chilton jumps, I don't know, 100 feet from the from the ship onto the smaller boat below, and like shatters his legs into oblivion.
Fucking comes out.
And then he's just kind of crawling along the ground in agony to get to the steering wheel. He's like, it's like, this guy's a fucking machine. Like, this guy's amazing.
It's such a great, because he's such a loathsome evil character, and he does go through the ringer towards the end of the film.
Very much so.
Like,
it's hugely satisfying.
Oh yeah, brilliant! And it's the classic kind of heading towards the shit with the and the card game from the first fucking scene that you'll have no doubt forgotten by the end comes up, and it's like game over, and he goes nah. That's what I lived for when I was like 10. That kind of shit.
Every time, and I did it again revisiting it. Every time he jumps off the ship, I expect a tentacle to grab him.
Oh aye.
And then he crashes down and shatters his shins to pieces, and I'm like, oh, that's worse. Man.
That's one of the things in films that always makes me cringe. Like, I can watch anything, but bones coming through the skin from like a leg break is always really disturbing to me.
It's funny you should say that, man. I'm exactly the same. That's one thing that, like, and my tolerance for stuff is pretty high, and for some reason that always, I'm just like, oh god.
I'm a bit like that with teeth and fingernails.
Yeah, fingernails being pulled off is horrifying.
So that's why minging.
when I made Split, I thought, let's do a scene in that where I pull off fingernails. I'll challenge myself. And then I was like, that's disgusting. I was like,
just vomiting constantly.
Yeah, like, I can't. He gets a deserved death, I think. And while we're ramping up towards his death, possibly one of the most heroic scenes that's ever been committed to celluloid's taking place.
Go on.
I think you know. The incredible chase scene where Finnegan is driving a jet ski through the tight corridors, the tight flooding corridors of the Argonautica, while being pursued by, let's call it Octolus, right? Octolus is hot on his tail, a screaming, howling maw of saliva and tentacles, cascading down the corridor after him. All the while, Finnegan is holding a shotgun, which he is firing over his shoulder, while Famke Janssen, who is astride the back of the jet ski, reloads it for him.
Yeah, and he's got to shoot the elevator button to open it before he gets there and crashes and explodes. And he just does it every time, like 3 times. This seems like that corridor is fucking long.
Actually, I'm taking back what I said about him having no sex appeal.
In that moment,
yeah, he's a very fucking sexy guy in that moment.
In that moment, he
Maybe it's a testament to how kind of invested or involved I was at this point, that it was only when you described it so bluntly just now that I was like, that's fucking nonsense. In the moment I was like, yeah, son, you fucking go.
Yeah, he's taking corners, he's crashing into the walls. Yeah. He's still going.
I didn't realize how much ridiculousness was coexisting with itself in that scene until you said it like that.
Has anyone here seen The Force Awakens?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
There's a big screaming ball of tentacles in The Force Awakens.
The Raftars, yeah.
Yeah, I feel
it is
like,
basically that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those creatures were borrowed quite liberally from Octolus.
Definitely. And I was going to say about the jet ski escape scene, it is John Connor on the back of the motorbike with the Terminator being chased by the T-1000 as well.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing of, like, he just looks so fucking badass. He does those cool slow motion jumps and lands, fires perfectly at the elevator door button, and, yeah, it pulls off these fucking insane kind of, like, turns. And the monster is just fucking, yeah, I put a screaming hall of guts is how I described it. Just fucking pouring after it.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
And it is your classic. I mean, like Aliens is probably my favorite film of all time, and it is that kind of like just great escape sequence where the music is perfectly orchestrated and the action is great. And when they finally kind of blast out the fucking door and it blows up, it is cinematic perfection.
Oh, there we go. But it is a very classic moment, that firing out with a fireball behind you.
Yeah. You don't see enough of that these days unless The Rock's in it.
True.
Yeah. And yeah, like right in that moment, yeah, we lose Canton simultaneously.
Yeah, in fact, we actually lose Canton moments before this because the fireball is a direct result of Canton.
Yeah, crashing the boat into
the boat has been set to, I guess, autopilot.
Autopilot, yeah.
Auto captain.
Because it's got all the torpedoes on board.
Yeah, it's now armed with torpedoes and it careens in at the side of the Argonautica, causing an enormous fireball.
And obviously wiping out Canton in the process.
Yeah, and sadly, Octolus.
Yeah, we lose Octolus.
Well, or has it? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, but no, it was kind of like pour one out for Octolus at that moment.
Yeah.
But they make their escape on the jet skis from the fireball, and make it to the island.
The island,
and then it's the best kind of like teaser for a possible sequel called Monster Island, where the trees shake. And it seems like there's multiple fucking things coming towards them from all directions.
Yeah, I was wondering if the whole island was like primordial.
It's like
I was like, my first thought was that they are on top of a giant octolus that has like trees and shit growing out of it.
I kind of thought it was that.
Am I the only person here that's going to mention that Skull Island's in the South China Sea?
Oh yeah, man.
Oh.
What if this is directly tied to Universal's new MonsterVerse? They laid the seeds that long ago.
There you go.
Kong Skull Island, it's there.
Something that's just slowly starting to become a recurring theme in this on this podcast is crackpot shared universe theory. So
excuse me, crackpot. My theory has legs.
It's sound. Yeah. No, sorry, crackpot. I'm doing you a disservice there. But I welcome them, especially if there's even the faintest shred of evidence to back them up. Yeah, but I agree. It's like as a kind of teaser ending for a sequel that we sadly never got. I think it's up there.
It's a great ending because I don't think it was ever like gonna be they were setting up a sequel. It's just a fun kind of ending that you leave the cinema going, that was good. Like at the end,
stinger.
It's just a nice little stinger, and this is before you had to put it after the credits and sit through 20 minutes of credits. It's just a fun little ending to the film, and I think it just kind of opens up the universe of Deep Rising to explore further things. And I would have liked a sequel, but it certainly is a film that stands well on its own. And I think Stephen Sommers kind of took it a bit further with what he did with The Mummy after that.
Yeah. I love that it also ends on a kind of jokey line because because Finnegan has his catchphrase, which is "now what."
The best, most used. It's used so many times in the film, that catchphrase, and it is it's like they were like, "What do we come up with for a catchphrase?" What about now what? It's like
Yeah.
such a fucking simple catchphrase, but it's great. It works so well.
I love that it completely betrays the gravity of the situation. Like it's like such a feeble thing to say in the face of what they're potentially going to be faced with.
Yeah, that's totally what makes it funny.
Yeah. And I think it's an
definitely.
amazing ending. I think it's an absolutely great ending.
But yeah, Now What is one of what I think is a few things that would put together a pretty good Deep Rising drinking game.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, there's
Yeah.
Go on then.
Definitely.
Chuck out some other rules.
I'm open to contributions here because I feel
Anytime there's machine gun fire.
I was gonna say
I was literally about to say that.
I was gonna say, you've been pushed at your tin.
Anytime
What
there
the
was
fuck, Farah?
ridiculous, machine gun fire. Anytime Finnegan says something cocky in response to a life-threatening situation.
Yeah.
Anytime
Finnegan,
Anytime Finnegan gets his hands on a firearm.
and then has it taken away immediately.
Anytime they have to backtrack and go back to somewhere they've been earlier.
That's fucking class.
Anytime a mercenary dies, naturally.
Yeah.
There we go. We're already steaming.
Yeah.
Sorted.
But you're also like you're gonna be passed out by the time you get to the third act. So.
Definitely.
So the tagline of this film was "Full scream ahead,"
Love it.
which is fucking lovely. I think when you've got a tagline like that, which is kind of cheesy, it's not putting you under any false illusions about the kind of film that you're going to see.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm looking at the DVD right now, and it literally has "Full Scream Ahead" in the biggest font on the back. and then I love how the critic quotes are fantastic.
Oh, go on.
Titanic with teeth.
Oh yeah.
And then the other one's great stunts, tremendous effects. And then
That's totally like an Amazon review that gives it 5 stars for arriving on time.
It's like the lamest one. And then you've got Deep Rising is far better conceived, designed, directed, and produced than Titanic. More scary than Godzilla. And it's like more scary. Do you not mean scarier than Godzilla?
Sorry, I have to know. Who's that quote attributed to?
That was the London Evening Standard.
There we go.
What?
Who was
it was better designed, directed, and produced than Titanic. That is what this film is, and I fucking believe that.
Fucking take that.
It certainly was scarier than Godzilla. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I'm presuming at this point in time we're talking about 1998's Godzilla, the Roland Emmerich Godzilla.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's contemporary, of course. Yeah.
Whose quote was the one that was just like, it has decent effects?
Great stunts. That was the Express on Sunday.
That was it, of course.
That totally sounds like the rest of that was going to be like the cinema seat was comfortable.
Yeah, it's better. It's better than some films, but worse than others. Like,
it's very non-committal. I like it. Yeah.
The front quote on the box says "head-on collision between Titanic and Alien."
Well,
so clearly trying to ride off the success of Titanic at the time.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Not all critics were such vocal fans, though. This film made its way onto Roger Ebert's most hated films list. So,
actually, that's brilliant.
Yep.
But Ebert's a massive prick, so you shouldn't listen to what he said.
But let's not speak ill of the dead.
No, we shouldn't.
Just as a total sideline, Roger Ebert wrote a review of Switchblade Romance, High Tension.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got one of my favorite lines from any review ever. He gives it 1 star.
One thumb.
It's it was after the Gene Siskel days. So I think it was like a half star out of 4. But basically, his contention for one of the things that he didn't like about it was obviously in that film you have a scene where if the ending adds up the way it does, the killer has to be both driving a truck and also hiding in the back of it at the same time. Mm-hmm. So his contention is that doesn't make any fucking sense, which is true. But his conclusion of it was, he said that it had a plot hole that was not only so big that you could drive a truck through it, that it literally drove a truck through it, which I think is fucking hilarious.
Well. Mitch, let me give you another piece of information here, Mitch.
Oh, please do.
The soundtrack, as we've discussed, the hilarious jaunty soundtrack,
yes,
was composed by Jerry Goldsmith.
Right.
Who from this point on could potentially hold the crown for being the king of aquatic horror. He also did Leviathan.
Oh, did he?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, he also scored Leviathan, which we've done on the show.
I was going to say, this makes me also want to start bringing up some kind of scorecard about how frequently people, either in front or behind the camera, appear on this podcast. Their work appears in the podcast. I'd be quite curious to know that.
Well, so far we've got Jerry Goldsmith with 2 and Peter Weller with 2.
Peter Weller with 2, as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Buckaroo.
Yeah, Buckaroo and Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andy, you've seen this a bunch of times.
Yep.
Take anything new out of it this time around?
Nope.
I guess that settles that.
Loved it when I saw it before. Loved it watching it again. It does get a bit of a bad rap, but I think it's wholly undeserved. I think the film's a lot of fun from the get-go. It knows exactly what it is. Stephen Sommers, crucially, knows what it is, and it's the exact same thing he took onto every other film in his career. It's a popcorn monster movie. And I think if you analyse it as being anything more than that, then you will find things to criticise. But if you view it with the kind of prerequisite level of you just want to watch something daft,
yep,
then Deep Rising's absolutely the film you should be watching. It's fucking great. It's smashing.
Sure. It's like you say, it's the second aquatic horror film that we've done on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred this to Leviathan by a margin.
Cool.
It was a first watch for me.
Leviathan is particularly heavy-handed and quite po-faced by comparison.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, I guess a comparison would be that this is Aliens to Leviathan's Alien.
Oh, that's good.
So I feel like that is the way you should look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more fun. It's bombastic. It's nonsense. Whereas Alien and Leviathan are very serious, very claustrophobic, very insular.
Yeah, I think like you're probably quite right that I think that there's elements of this that don't stand up to closer examination, but they're also not really supposed to. I think that if you read in too far, you will find stuff, but you're also very much in danger of missing the point.
Yeah.
Which is just
it's a ridiculous film. It really just kind of lets you you just switch your brain off, enjoy it, get some friends around, have a few beers, and if you want to watch something that there aren't a lot of films like this anymore. The R-rated, big budget, well, pretty big budget for the time, kind of monster epic, because you've got loads of gore and you've got comedy all wrapped up in a film that is essentially Aliens. As it says, Aliens meets Titanic. Yep. You really don't see that stuff anymore, because your big monster movies now, for the mainstream audience, are like Rampage and things like that.
Well,
and
I'll be honest, I'm expecting big things from the Meg.
Oh yeah, you completely caught me out there. In fact, that is exactly the type of thing that I'm hoping it really nails that. And looking at the trailers, it does seem to know what it is. Because I think, was it an Eli Roth project originally that he was trying to get going?
He was originally slated as to direct it.
No, I agree with the Meg. I think that one of the reasons that I'm looking forward to seeing it so much is when you saw the trailer, and also you talk about taglines, pleased to eat you.
There you go.
I was like, fuck, I haven't seen one of these in a while. Yeah, sign me up for this.
If you go looking for something like a Godzilla or a Skull Island or something, then Deep Rising's absolutely not the film for you, because you're wanting something far more po-faced than Deep Rising's got for you. Deep Rising's it's a hoot.
I would say that this kind of thing can be very hit or miss for me. So I had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
I'm glad I've seen it. It's a good selection, I think.
Good. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, man.
I was going to say partially because I enjoyed it, but also just because there's so much to unpack in there. Like, there's so much to talk about.
And I still feel like we've barely scraped the surface. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that kind of slips through, just slips through the cracks a little bit. Kind of gets lost.
Yeah, I always defend it, because I'm always like, I've watched it so many times. Like, it's a really well written and really well directed film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the character beats are like always on point. Like, no one acts complete, out of character at any point.
Yeah.
They're already, while some of them are kind of caricatures of your type of characters you get in these films, but like, it's all really well played out, and like, everything's set up. Like, no one shot of something is there for no reason. Everything plays on. There's like the bit earlier on. When I was watching it last night, like, Trillion's there chewing the gum and blowing bubbles. 20 minutes later in the film, there's a shot of a security camera and she slaps the gum on it. And I was like, oh shit, I would have not noticed that on the first viewing. That's like a second viewing thing. That's why she was chewing the gum, to get by the cameras. And all the little moments with the mercenaries and the banter between them and Finnegan all plays off itself. The whole thing with the exchanging of the guns and the building of the trust it's really well played, and it gives you a nice kind of depth to these characters that in a lot of these films you're just like, when are they going to die?
Well, you have Joey as well, when he's in the lift and he's singing "Girl from Ipanema" because it's on the We're like, what is that song? I know that. And he's like, that's Girl
Yeah.
from Ipanema. And then a few scenes later, he's still singing Girl from Ipanema.
Yeah. There's a few kind of like long payoff jokes in there.
Do you know what I love? We forgot to touch on this. There's a bit where he tells him there's a big monologue about a octopus or a fish in a bottle.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about
great.
they put it with an octopus, and within 5 minutes the octopus had figured out how to open the bottle, got in the bottle, and was eating the fish. And like it's something like, "We're the fish," and I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking amazing.
That's another Canton marine biologist exploration, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah,
this guy, by the way,
he knows everything, man. He knows it all.
Man.
Yeah, it's font of knowledge.
It's like Aquaman.
Stuart, before we wrap up, we want to take a minute to talk about Book of Monsters.
Yeah.
Which, after a really successful Kickstarter, is now going to Frightfest for the world premiere.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting, actually. Like, we had our first film at Frightfest in the first year they did First Blood, 2016.
The Shepherd's Bush year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the 1 year that we were at Shepherd's Bush. And, really lucky to get in. Because Frightfest, they're so supportive of independent filmmakers, especially British ones. Well, ones from all over the world. And they... were kind enough to put it in. We had an amazing experience, and basically we took all the feedback, because it was like the first time we had a big festival experience. And Frightfest were like, here's what we liked about it, here's what we really fucking didn't like about it. They're really honest about it. And we took that feedback, and we took the feedback from people we spoke to at the festival, went away and went, right, what type of film do we really want to make? We want to make monster films. I think that's definitely something like myself and Paul Buller, we've been making films for like 10 years now. We just want to make monster films. Let's not kid ourselves about it. And it's like, what's better than 6 monsters invading an 18th birthday party and having all the girls there team up to fight them and send them back to hell? Thought that'd be a really fun idea. And thankfully the Kickstarter did really, really well. It's like insane. We were like the 3rd most funded horror in the UK and like 15th in the world on Kickstarter at the time, which was fucking sick.
Yeah, amazing.
And like we just had some amazing support. Like people who'd like seen the Creature Below at Frightfest were kind of like sharing it and stuff. And then we managed to get the budget, and we shot it over like 15 days. It was a crazy shoot, and I think we've really kind of learned all our lessons from the first film, and I really think we've got kind of a really entertaining film. And you'll see when you do eventually see the film, like stuff like Deep Rising, that is the type of films that I want to make. Just entertainment, popcorn, monsters, no pissing about. Let's just have some fun. And I really me and Paul were just like, we want to make a film where at the end the audience has at least screamed once, cheered, and maybe shit themselves as well. But ultimately leave the film with like a big smile on their face, going, I really enjoyed that. Like something you want to show your mates.
Well,
so hopefully it's just a really fun film, and really proud of the cast and crew and everyone, because they've all worked their asses off.
Sweet. No, we'll both be at the screening.
That brings me on to this, and an interesting kind of quirk of fate. And I'm finally allowed to talk about this, because by the time this episode goes out, it'll have been announced. But just over a year and a bit ago, I produced a short film called Mannequins for my friend Dave Malcolm from Random Elements Films, and he's helped me with he's worked on some of my stuff, and he had this idea to do a short, his first short, and asked me if I'd be able to help him with it, and I said, yeah man, no problem, give me a read at it. And I thought it was weird, and I thought, yeah, fuck, I'll help you with this. And he's just found out that not only is Mannequins going to have its world premiere at Frightfest, but it will in fact open for Book of Monsters. So similar to yourself, hugely proud of Dave. That's a massive thing to happen on your first shot. And massively proud of the cast, as it were, and all the crew, and super pleased to be there for it. And so that's
that's awesome, man. Like, it's kind of
weird,
a great twist of fate that we're like together as well.
Yeah,
we'll have to celebrate, because it's pretty much our cast and crew screening, like, because we're still kind of busy been finalising post-production ready for Fright Fest. Like, this will be the first time cast and crew see it, so
Awesome.
we'll all be going out afterwards, guys. You've got to come with us.
Definitely, man.
Well,
definitely.
that's generally what I come down for. Quite often, as much as I love watching films, I like attending Fright Fest for the social side of it. Films are great, but they don't allow much opportunity for socialising, as it were. But I always like to try and squeeze something in.
Yeah, I'm going to be there all weekend. I'll probably I try and kind of fill up my dance card as much as possible with catching stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping to get around, do a little bit more socialising too.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to see you.
It's true. Yeah, and I normally appear for like 5-10 minutes and then disappear off the screen. But I'm going to try and hang around a little more.
You kind of see me getting increasingly drunk in increments.
Yeah, it's true.
You're like, he seems okay, and then next time you see me, he's like, he seems a bit further gone, and then the next time you're like, oh, that's it, tops off.
Yep, curtains away.
His top's off, his trousers are down.
Before we wrap up, anywhere or where can people catch up with you on social media, Stuart?
Yeah, you can follow Dark Rift Films on Facebook or Twitter, and also if you want to find out a bit more about what we do, darkriftfilms.com is the place to be, and you can find all the links to our social media stuff from there. But yeah, generally just love to chat to people and stuff, like get in touch, add me on Facebook. Just love to meet other independent filmmakers and let's make stuff together.
Superb. Stuart, thank you very much for bringing Deep Rising to this forum. I absolutely love the film, as I've said. Yeah, it's always a treat to revisit Deep Rising, so I'm glad that I'm glad that you brought it along, because it
thank you so much for inviting me on. I fucking love talking about this film, and a chance to kind of make a case for it over like an hour is great, because I can just talk shit.
Yay! That's what we like.
That's encouraged.
I realised as well when I introduced the film, I never even said the name of the film, and you had to fill it in as well. By the way, it's talking about Deep Rising, guys.
Yeah, because I normally do it, and I was like, and after we started talking, I was like, fuck's sake, I've forgotten as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I think we all came down on the positive side of Deep Rising. We would advise everyone to go and check it out.
Oh yeah, if you haven't already, go get on it.
Even if you leave not being a huge fan, you're not going to leave without being entertained.
Yeah, you'll be entertained if nothing else, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Stuart, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll see you at Fright Fest.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you there.
See you. Good luck with the rest of your post.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
So, one of my more interesting first watches there, I think.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I think with stuff like this, I'm never really sure going in how I'm going to feel about something. I guess you never are entirely, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, my history with films like this is pretty up and down. So I'm glad I enjoyed it, because obviously Stuart had chosen it, and you'd been pretty vocal about the fact that you were into it. So off the back of that, I was like kind of hoping I would get something out of it, but no, it's a lot of fun. And I think that there's a self-awareness to it that I think that, judging by its critical reception, people don't really give it credit for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it is, like I said, it's just a hoot. I have a great time with Deep Rising every time
it's a
I watch
blast.
it.
Yeah.
And it's a film that I will definitely go back to many, many times. I think I said it in the Leviathan episode that I love Deep Rising. I've said it today. It's fucking excellent, and definitely worth your time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll go back to it at some point, I think. And also, Stuart, great guest as well. Looking forward to checking out his film.
Absolutely. And if you are attending Fright Fest, then do try and get along to Book of Monsters if you can. And if you do, please also check out Dave Malcolm's Mannequins, which is playing right before it.
Can't wait to see that too.
It's his first short, which was produced by me. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, and I suppose that's just about it once again.
God, yep, just like that, it's over.
Yeah, it's flown by tonight.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in touch with thoughts, comments, feedback, you can do. There's loads of ways to do that. Facebook and Instagram, we've got Strong Language Violent Scenes. You can tweet us as well at StrongViolentPC, and you can always email us at stronglanguageviolentscenes@gmail.com.
Yep, and if you want to put us into your ear holes, you can do that on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Podbean.
Indeed you can. And we'll be back this Monday.
Yeah.
At 8 a.m. BST for another minisode.
Yep, in which I think I might institute the new segment.
Yes, that we spoke about, that we teased.
Yep. And I'll tell you a little bit about it now.
Okay, go.
It's called Mitch's Pitches. we all know by this point that Mitch has seen fuck all.
That's
Mitch
correct.
has got no idea about any films that are out there.
That's mostly
So what we're going to do is...
I kind of qualify this a little bit. I'm not a fucking moron.
No, you're not.
I would say like pre 2000-ish. I would say that like it's a little bit hit or miss for me.
Okay.
Which is, in fact, you know what? It is inexcusable. Never mind.
So the idea for Mitch's Pitches was born from a suggestion, which came from a friend of ours.
Yes.
Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to show Mitch the cover art for a DVD, and Mitch presumably won't have seen it.
I will honestly verify how much I know about it beforehand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Mitch, based on nothing else but the box art, will attempt to figure out what the plot of the film is.
I'll give it my best guess. I really like this idea.
Yeah.
No, let's definitely do it. Yeah, so we'll be debuting Mitch's Pitches on Monday alongside all the usual stuff that you get with the new
minisodes.
Yeah,
including what I'm hoping is some progress through the Shockwaves 100.
I can confirm that there will be at least some progress on the Shockwaves 100. I did pledge 3 films. I'm looking good. I'm in a good position to hit 3 films.
Okay, cool. So 2, you're at 2 then.
Correct, I've seen 2.
At the point of recording this, you're at 2.
I've seen 2.
Right, okay.
So, I'm flying out of the gate this week.
Superb. This could be something special.
Yeah, you never know. Who knows
yeah.
how many I'll have racked up by Monday? I mean, the smart money's on 3, but who knows?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, join us on Monday for another minisode, Mitch's Pitches,
feedback,
podcast recommendations, Shockwave 100, and of course to find out the guest and film for next week's show.
Yeah, all this and maybe more, who knows? But in the meantime, don't forget that it is better to die a hero than live as food in a world of chuds. Good night.
Good night. You've been listening to Strong Language and Violent Scenes with Andy Stewart and Mitch Bain. Strong Language and Violent Scenes theme by Mitch Bain. Production and artwork by Andy Stewart. Find us on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts and Podbean.